So we're going to move on to the next question because you're kind of leading into it here as well. And this is about really the engineering profession. It touches a bit on the comments. So I'll again give you a bit of a positioning statement, and then we'll be able to hear from one of the other parties as well on this. So the engineering profession, professional engineers make a considerable contribution to Canada's and Ontario's economy and to maintaining the public's health and safety. Nevertheless, in comparison to other self-regulating professions, professional engineers' accomplishments remain unnoticed by the public and government. Looking at a labour market study done by Engineers Canada and the Canadian Council of Technicians and Technologists in 2008 and updated in 2010, the survey found demographic projections showing that the pool of engineering students entering university is getting smaller, and despite increased female engineering enrollment through the 1990s, the gender imbalance since 2001 has begun to widen. Of the 70,000 licensed professional engineers in Ontario, only about 7% are women. The survey also found a gap between the skill sets required by employers, whereas there is a surplus of recent graduates who have little or no experience, but a shortage of experienced engineers with 5 or more years of practical experience-based technical and specialized skills employers require. So this kind of relates a little bit into raising the image of professional engineering. There's a question in terms of how can government promote that engineers be involved in major government programs and spending initiatives, which is really the tie-in to this question. So we'll start with the response from the Liberals. So over to Ray.
All right, thank you. Engineers are at the forefront of many important federal projects and spending initiatives. For 5 years, Stephen Harper has deceived and roadblocked Canadian access to information and how their tax dollars are being spent. The Liberal Party of Canada is committed to democratic renewal, and that means a commitment to open government. A Liberal government will open government data to the public through 4 specific measures. 1, immediately restore the long-term census. 2, make as many government data sets as possible available to the public online free of charge at opendata.gc.ca in an open and searchable format, starting with StatsCan data. 3, post all access to information requests, responses, and response time online at accesstoinformation.gc.ca. Number 4, make information on government grants, contribution, and contracts available through a searchable online database at accountablespending.gc.ca. By allowing a free flow of information, Canadians will see how their money is being spent, including how engineers are involved in some of the most important projects in Canada. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's one of the benefits of sending in a written response, and we heard that it kind of touched on the question that perhaps at the end from that perspective. Again, not having all the different parties here, we'll have to take it upon ourselves to look at the platforms for each of the groups. Jean-Luc, we're just finishing up. The Liberal discussion, if I could summarize it quickly, was talking about open and sharing information. And I think the point was that if it was open and shared, that the public would see how engineers, in fact, are involved. Didn't actually touch on the promotion, which was part of what the question was. So over to you to respond to this particular question.
Sure. So I was in university in the 90s when there was this encouraged program for allowing more female students to enter the engineering discipline. And its success was a tempered success. Not as many women entered the engineering discipline as they had hoped, but there was definitely an increase. And there is definitely a concerning pattern with the current government anyway, of almost a disregard for expert opinion. But proper politicians need to be in a situation where they have access to the best information possible, and you can only get that from the experts themselves. And I know it's not, in this case, directly related to promotion, but it's almost an anti-promotion when you start axing chiefs of Statistics Canada or of the Nuclear Safety Commission, or any number of other civil servants that were let go because they happened to disagree with the politician's view of the world at the time. That is the opposite of promotion. Now, as far as promoting perhaps more people going into the engineering or technical disciplines, we need to sort of, like you say, open up the kimono, let the information out. The Green Party ourselves, we have a policy where we would like to have an open data policy very similar to the United Kingdom, where basically all information is by default in the public domain unless you can make a justification for it not to be in the public domain. So engineering reports and designs and examinations of various programs and situations would be exposed to the public, where you know, nerds off in the basement somewhere will start collating this information and providing it in new and innovative ways to the public. To me, that would be a fantastic form of promotion. Get the information and get it out to the public so that they could examine it themselves and see how decisions were made, see what kind of information was given to politicians so they could make their policy decisions themselves. Now, as far as education promotion goes, a very modest expenditure on promotion for engineering or the technical trades would go a long way. There tens of millions of dollars were spent on this economic action plan business, but almost nothing was spent on encouraging young girls to pursue technical discipline and not fall into the, oh, that's a boys' discipline, that's boys' stuff. Because quite frankly, the most brilliant engineers I've ever met were women, and they didn't pursue the discipline much further because they somehow felt it was a gender squeeze and they were pushed out.
So I'm going to go right to, because we're going to actually run out of time. We started very slowly here and we're kind of running short. Why don't we take a question here and then we'll go to the center for a question.
I guess the answer to the question is, how will government promote that engineers are involved, is to make them all licensed professionals. Because only licensed engineers or architects can comment on the works of other engineers or architects.
So maybe this question was fishing a little bit. Thank you for the answer. We'll go to the question in the center, please.
Excuse me. My name is Stephen Lee. I'm a landscape architect. And I've just completed my career with the federal government. I'm retired now. My question actually goes to the wider substance of that question that I'm reading is, what can you do to encourage Canadians to make the public service a career choice? Because the difficulty is that you recruit people, but they get very frustrated, either financially or roadblocks. So I get to say, and I'm going to say it very publicly, there was, at the very last period of time, I really never felt that taking that financial sacrifice, and by the way, living in Windchill and what's that thing in the summer? Humidex. I'm from Vancouver. You know, was a very positive fact of life here. So my question really is, what do you think you can do from a human resource perspective to retain, you know, once you recruit, retain these people and have that corporate memory that you're going to need over multiple generations of government?